Joe Whitt Jr. spoke for the first time since his epic opening press conference to the media yesterday. I want to go through some of the best of his presser. I went back and listened to it last night and this morning and kind of pulled some of the things that I thought were most interesting. So, first things first, he was asked about Frankie Luvu. It was right after he was asked about Emmanuel Forbes. And I didn't pull it to juxtapose them because I didn't think it would be fair to Forbes. But just so you know, like someone asked about Emmanuel Forbes and he's like, yeah, he's working hard. We like him. He's gonna grind it out.
He's playing how they're playing.
He's smart. We like him. And then someone asked about Frankie Luvu, and he sounds like Jay Gruden being asked about Rob Kelly, where he was like, "Oh man, I love Rob Kelly." Like, listen to the energy. Frankie Luvu is a dog, and when you watch him on film, it just pops out as different. He is going to be an alpha in any locker room. But it's pretty clear Joe Whitt already loves the guy.
What's not to like about him? He is the heartbeat of what competitive, hard-nosed defensive football is about, And I remember he said, "Coach, just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it." And he goes as hard as he can. I love that. He's a fun guy to be around, fun guy to coach.
That's an endorsement, right?
Yes, it is.
Your lips are filled with smile. When you're asked about a pupil, you're asked about a kid that you're helping, learn a language or whatever you're tutoring, whatever, and you can't say anything but nice things. I'm such a big believer in Luvu, by the way. I think he's going to have a really significant year. I don't know statistically what it's going to look like because I don't know how he's going to be used really, which is part of the fun. And Joe Whitt talked about this. He was asked about a couple different ways, a couple different players. How are you going to use this guy? What's the plan? What's it going to look like schematically? And he was, and I have no problem with this. In fact, I actually like it. He's very nice about it. He's like, guys, I'm not giving away the business here. He's like, the only thing we have going for us really at this juncture is nobody really knows until week one how this is all going to go. And I still remember covering the then Redskins in 2012. And if you remember, nobody knew that they were going to come out running all those bubble screens with the Robert Griffin offense and the read option and the pistol. We didn't see that.
Hadn't shown any of it.
No, we didn't see it in the preseason. We saw some stuff at open training camp practices, but we really had no idea. And they took the league by storm. I'm not suggesting that Joe Whitt and Dan Quinn are going to be able to do the same thing schematically defensively, but I do agree with him that you got film on the Eagles. You got film on the Giants who are returning a coaching staff. You kind of know how the Cowboys are going to operate. They don't know much about you. And this was him talking about Luvu fitting in at different positions and kind of getting into that.
Why would I say that right now when people are looking? All right, they'll figure it out when we play. But we're happy, and I'm not trying to be a smart ass. All right, trust me, believe me, okay? But the advantage that we have right now is people don't know, okay? And we're going to keep that advantage until they figure it out. So I'm not going to say, I'm not trying to dodge anybody's question, all right? I'm answering it the best way I can, but we have good players, and we're going to put them in position to help us win. And that's all we're going to get until, after the first game.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
Sign me up.
Also, a lot of times coaches do the I'm not answering it, but they don't go as he went farther and said, listen, guys, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I promise. But here's why I'm doing it this way. Just going far enough to think enough about, in this case, the media, but really the fans, to explain why you're answering that way.
Yes.
That's the same thing he's going to do in the meeting rooms when a coach says, no, we're not running that. No, I don't like you doing it that way. Are you going to explain to them why? Are you going to get down on your knee and say, here's how we do this, buddy? This guy is a player's coach, and he is a bring everyone to the table. That told me a lot. He didn't just shut it down as saying, I'm not telling you that, guys. Competitive advantage. Here's why, guys. And he took you inside his logic. I love that. That was revealing.
I do too, because there's a I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. There's an inherent dismissiveness sometimes that comes from guys who do this professionally to the lay people, right? I always felt like, and Shanahan I thought was actually a little bit guilty of this at times, where like, how dare you ask me to explain myself to you? I've forgotten more football this morning than you pudgy writing core will ever know in your entire lives. I'm not explaining this. I'm not stopping to explain this to you. No. And there's this looking down on and a disdain that sometimes happens from coaches and people that are in the know. I understand you know more than I do. That's why you're not asking me questions. I'm asking you.
Well, and you understand probably like I do that they get annoyed because it's constant and it's so
Yes.
many
Oh,
questions,
totally.
and that's got to be frustrating.
And absolutely. But there's a way to do it like that where you're going, I'm not sitting here telling you, I'm not thumbing my nose at you. I'm not Belichicking. I'm not giving you the Popovich treatment. What I'm doing and explaining is our best attribute right now is that people don't know exactly what our plan is. And any data I can control, I'm not giving out at this stage. And that's why. That's very reasonable.
I actually generally think a lot of what coaches believe and perceive as being information worth guarding is way overrated and unnecessary.
I agree with that.
Like at one point, Witt says, "I'm always looking at press conferences or reading stories about guys to see, if a coach says what their flaws are or whatever, so you can exploit them." I mean, I just don't buy
I bet
that.
you the film tells you more.
Exactly. I think there's other ways to figure that out. Having said that, it's irrefutable. New coordinator, new system, new usage of new players. Yeah, we've never seen it before. So there's a lot that's going to be determined that nobody knows. Go to cut 3 here. I love this. He's asked about guys playing in contract years. And to me, this is kind of Joe Whitt at his best.
I really don't get into that, to be honest with you. If this is why if you get comfortable, if you change because of a contract or not, shame on you. Okay, I remember Charles Wilson told me he had just signed his contract, and I came down into the meeting room. I said, "Wood, you got that big contract." He said, "Man, I'm trying to get the next one." The day he signed it, so that's the mentality that has to be. How do I get to the next one? How do I win a championship? That's I don't really worry about that.
Awesome. Here's the next cut that I thought was worth playing for you. When he was asked how much he leans on Bobby Wagner. So I was talking about being a player's coach. One of the things I really liked when he was hired was that some of his guys that he's coached in the past, Green Bay, Dallas, along the way, came out and said he is a listener. He will take what you say and implement it. In his press conference, one of the things that made him a very popular guy very quickly was him referencing, like, I don't have all the answers. Coaches coach players, and players can help me learn too. But listen to how he's actually implementing that. Like, those were not just words. He gives you specific examples here of Bobby Wagner, who's a coach on the field, coming to him saying, I don't know that you have this perfect, and then them together going back to get it fixed. I thought this was really cool.
A lot. I just told the defense, it's the vet's responsibility that the young guys are going at the speed of the vets. All right, if they have to make sure that happens. We're going to get them to understand what they have, but to play with the edge and the tenacity that we want. All right, they're in the locker room with them, and Bobby does a great job of that. And Bobby does a great job of when I install something, and if I don't do it as clean as I should, he'll come and say, "Hey, coach, maybe." Got you, Bobby. All right, go back in there and do it. And I respect that. I take coaching from my players. I did it in Dallas. I did it in Green Bay, wherever. That's the only way you get better. All right, so we're all trying to grow and get better. So I'm not trying to say, hey, I have all the answers. As a defensive staff, we're putting this together with the players. It's our defense. It ain't my defense. It ain't Coach Quinn. It's the commander defense. All right, and we're going to get it done. So it takes all of us.
I mean, who doesn't appreciate
I adore that
from a boss, right? Like, our bosses know more about what we need to do to succeed from a revenue standpoint and a rating standpoint and all those things than we do. This is the livelihood. They're in the meetings. They get the info. They bring it back to us. But we're the worker bees to some extent. So we're in here, and sometimes you might go, hey, this isn't going that well for this reason. They can't possibly know everything that happens inside this little room.
Right.
So if you've got a boss that when you go to them and say, hey, this isn't working for me because, the good ones go, okay, let's figure out a way to make sure that's not the case so that we can get the most out of you and make it more efficient. For us, that just might mean we got to get a new equipment or new technology, whatever it is. To me, that is what I think a great coach in the league has to be able to do in this era, especially. Player empowerment's kind of only getting going and to a greater extent. These guys have a lot of money and big egos, and a lot of them think that they've been there and done it. And if you're going to butt heads with a coach, you can pretty quickly sour on that guy. You could be the voice in the locker room that has other people sour on him. I think it's important that you welcome the players into the discussion.
There's got to be a hierarchy. There's got to be roles. but it can be collaborative. I think of my college coach who's now at Wake Forest, damn near winning national championships every year. It was basically his point always was, we'll go as far as our leadership takes us. The best way to be great is if the leader, the better players, they're your hardest workers, they're setting the culture, setting the tone, etc. But it has to be collaborative to some degree. You guys are going to get out of this what you put in.
Gotcha, bud.
And I remember, multiple times, guys, if you we're playing games in conference, out of conference, like if somebody knew someone on the other team, he's taking that stuff into account. I remember we played Virginia Tech against one of my former teammates who had the best pickoff move you have ever seen. And I basically said, you got to holster every hit and run because he'll leave his leg up there and pick guys off one by one by one. We cannot take big leads. In fact, limit secondaries because he's got the best move you've ever seen in your life. And you take those things into account. You don't just do your thing because it's your thing. You do what's best. And if someone's got better information, you go with that. Or at a minimum, you consider it.
One other clip I want to play here, and this is from Joe Whitt Jr. yesterday with the media. At the end of his press conference, he kind of throws one more thought out there, as if it was just something he wanted to get out there that he kind of planned going up to the podium. I want to say at some point. I thought this was actually really interesting for a couple of reasons. Listen to this. You can play the whole clip then, whatever you got there. Something's happening with the computer, maybe, it sounds like.
What I've really been impressed with is with the buy-in that they've had, all right, because it's not, you have to be selfless at some point to say, all right, there's not going to be 11. There's going to be times I come off the field for the betterment of the defense, for the betterment of the team. And there's nobody that's balked at that at all. Everybody's in. Everybody's all in. And the meetings are so fun. They're so energetic because these guys every day are just trying to get better and trying to do it the right way. And as long as we do that, we're going to have a hell of a chance.
That's Joe Whitt Jr. meeting with the media yesterday. Went on to say yesterday, there's starters don't really matter. They're going to
loved that, by the way.
Deep rotation, 17, 18 guys going to be on the field.
Because here's the thing, there will be starters. Their guys are going to get more snaps. But the whole point is you need 17, 18, 20 some guys for buy-in because injuries happen, substitutions happen, rotations happen. You can't have this massive drop-off, right? Where the good teams are able to stack and layer. And if you're like, yeah, I'm playing 10 snaps tomorrow, so what? Or it's, dude, I'm playing 10 snaps tomorrow. You'd rather have the latter.